Hello, everyone. My name is Altcoin Connoisseur, and if you want to hear market news from a random guy online who just happens to be a gym teacher, if you are an aficionado of mid cap altcoins, or as what I like to call shit coins, outside of the top 10, you are in the right place. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, so let's get into it. Our episode's name today is Are We Cooked? In order to answer that, we have to take a look at Bitcoin. So I'm sitting here on the 1 year liquidation heat map. And if you're not familiar with it, essentially what it is these green bars represent liquidation levels. So these are areas where people make leverage longs or shorts, and under or over a certain price, their position becomes liquidated. So these green bars represent the price where these people will get liquidated. Now, the people who own the exchanges, they make a ton of money off these liquidations. So as we've been traveling downward pretty much for the past year, I have been keeping an eye on this chart, and it's pretty excellent at giving you some future short-term price targets. So let's take a look at what's been going on lately. So during this run up in the past few months, we can see that we have been accumulating a lot of liquidity below, which means that people are betting on the price to go long, right? So at this point, we're not bearish enough. And as this was piling up, I thought, it would be really nice if we just shot up here and we took all this liquidity. But then I was thinking to myself, we might see this move where we actually capture this all. And you know what? I would rather not fuck around, and I'd rather have this get done relatively soon. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we actually wick past this wick right here, just enough to freak everyone out, just enough to get people to short the market, and then kind of use that as rocket fuel to push up. And not that I'm some sort of like fortune teller, because I wouldn't be a gym teacher and I would be, on a private island, and I wouldn't be making a YouTube video like this, right? But that's kind of what happened, right? We came down, and we came down sharply. And in my mind, even though it looks ugly and scary, and not fantastic, right? We now kind of have the liquidity we need to start pushing higher. And if I were to ask you now, where's all the liquidity, right? It's to the upside. And these areas where there's thicker bands, such as this area kind of north of 80K, this area around 100K, there's billions of dollars that are sitting at these levels. And while the big boys, the sharks, the lizard people, the people who wear the small hats, they'll leave this alone for a bit, but for not too long, right? So just by looking at this, I mean, guys, look at all the freaking liquidity at the all-time high and above, right? I see, as bad as things have looked and as far down as things have gone, I don't really see how Bitcoin is not going to be breaking all-time highs, if not in 2026, perhaps in 2027, right? Also, one thing I'd like to note too, I'm not a huge Elliott wave guy, but typically from what I've heard, when you have measured moves downwards, kind of like this, it goes in 5 waves. So waves 1, right? Wave 1, wave 3, and wave 5 are to the downside, or they go with the trend, and then waves 2 and 4 move with the counter trend, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then working on our 5th right now, probably almost done, right? Because there's not a whole lot left here to grab. All right, so for us to think that we're going to be continuing in this prolonged bear market for a very long time, I'm just not seeing it, right? People will finally accept the bear market once it's already happened. And it's, look at this, it's already happened, right? There's not a whole lot left to grab right here, right? Let's give some confluence here to this and explain why. Let me slide it over. So no, I don't want that tool. Get out of here. This guy, I want that guy, right? let me explain why we are not cooked. See, everything you need is right here. Very professional smiley face. And I'm explaining why we're not cooked right here. Just kidding. I'm going to get to some actual analysis in a little bit. But before we do that, just type in Bitcoin on YouTube and get a sense of the sentiment, right? Let's see here. Worst fears happening now. Sailor gives up. Bitcoin crashing. Worst case scenario. Bitcoin falling. Bitcoin's reset. Everything doom and gloom. Scary. You know, you would think it's fucking Halloween out here, but the problem is that it's not Halloween. It's summer, right? It's time to chill. It's time to relax. Let's have some fun. And I think finally in the crypto market, it's time to make some money. Additionally, here we have some pretty cool support going on, right? Not only have we cleared out all the liquidity, and maybe we're forming a little double bottom right here, right? We also are trading around the all-time high from 2021, right? The double top, a big accumulation area over here from 2024. And we're kind of just retesting it, it looks like, as support, maybe dipping into it a little bit before we take off, right? And let's just throw a little fib extension on here. Fib retracement. Let's see where we could possibly go. Local high, local low, right? Let's say we get up to, well, you know what? Let's do some prior cycles too. Why not? Let's see where we can go, right? Let's do 2021, right? So local high, local low. Where did we get to? 3.618, right? Where did we get to before? Let's take a look, right? Local high, local low. Okay, way above. And then let's take a look this time. Local high, local low, and yeah, okay. So we can see here that through each cycle, we are kind of getting diminishing returns on the fib extensions. However, this one only got up to the 1.618, our most recent cycle. I don't think that's done. I don't think that is typical movement. I think we're more likely to see Bitcoin shoot up to these levels, at least make it to the 2.618, especially if you were to count this as a new cycle, right? And if we get rid of, let's get rid of things, right? If we get rid of these things, right, Bitcoin just tends to move up and to the right. And for the past several years, it just has kind of been flat, right? So with that being said, we're on nice support. Liquidity cleared out. It looks like we're poised for an upward move, right? Let's look at some other confluences here. So we have M2 money supply. We print money exponentially. The assets we buy are priced in US dollars. There are continually more US dollars. Thus, assets that are worth their while go up over time. You can see during COVID, we had exponential money printing. And actually, it took a good 6 months for that exponential money printing to really sort of hit the crypto market. You see we went vertical here, and then that was in February, and we didn't really get going actually for another whole year, right? Then we continued money printing. We hit the top of our money printing in January, right? And then we did something like pretty unprecedented and pretty crazy in the grand scope of money printing in the US, and we took a big break and we actually went down, right? And this is fairly significant, and I think that's why we haven't really seen risk on sentiment. It's really why we haven't seen an altcoin season, and it's really why we haven't seen breadth open up in the market. Because if you look back in time here, right, money printing is consistently not only going up, but going more vertically each year, right? Since 1959, since the inception of this graph, right? When have we done reverse money printing for any period of time on this graph? Maybe a slight blip over here, but pretty much never, right? And we're getting more money printing here, right? So some people say, oh, M2 is not correlated with crypto anymore, right? Just because we've had this dip, right? But of course it fucking is, right? For the reasons we stated earlier. The assets, they're priced in dollars. You print more dollars, you're going to have more of those dollars to go into those assets, right? They just haven't found this low or this high, shall I say, on the risk curve yet. Let's take a look at some other things, right? So we have the United States Purchasing Managers Index, also known as the ISM. So it's a survey, and the survey is basically conducted by higher ups in the manufacturing sector, and it's kind of an indicator of how strong the economy is, and it's usually correlated highly with risk on sentiment. So we can see here, 2018 ISM peaks, crypto peaks, right? I have Ethereum and I have others at the bottom. ISM dips, crypto dips, right? ISM peaks, right? Crypto peaks. And it's close enough, right? There's some sort of lag. Sometimes ISM goes up first and then crypto follows, right? Here, right, as we were kind of getting over our lull in money printing, you can see that the ISM has remained low, under 50 or maybe even under 54, right? Is considered low. It's considered not an expansion for some of the longest time that we've actually seen on this graph, right? So this explains, at least to me, it's a confluence anyhow as to why we haven't really seen moves in crypto. And look at this, we're finally starting to go up. So far, right? Liquidity, it's all up here, right? These are all shorts that the lizard people are waiting to fucking put their grimy paws on, right? That's good for us, right? We want them to do that in this instance. It goes up. We have I'm going to get to others, but we have confirmation here that we're not cooked, okay? We have BTC at a really cool support that's been tested multiple times, right? 2021 high, 2024 consolidation period, and then again now, right? We have more money printing. We have PMI. What else do we have? Well, holy shit, let's clean this up. This is gold, right? So gold is a risk off asset, right? People flight to gold when they're panicked. Gold basically takes away liquidity from risky things, from innovation, from stocks, from crypto, right? And what just happened? We had, for the past 5-6 years, just parabolic movement, like unlike anything we've seen in gold before. Let's see if I can even scroll back a little bit here, right? I mean, we haven't seen moves like this in gold in quite a long time, right? In fact, if we were to draw a fib on here, let's go local high, local low. And, I don't know if I'm quite doing this right, but it seems good enough to me. Here we go, right? We actually overthrew the extension, the 4.236, right? So when we have so much liquidity, right, and we have a $30 trillion asset going parabolic, right, when that comes down and stabilizes, that's going to free up tons of liquidity for more risk on stuff like crypto, like others, like Fartcoin, like Shiba Inu, like pudgy penguins, right? Like all that good stuff, right? And during this time, during this run up, I mean, this thing was trading like a meme coin, right? 200%, right? Now, I personally hate gold. Should I have been investing in it instead of shit coins for the past several years? Yes. However, it doesn't do anything cool. It doesn't save lives. And it basically just sits there and looks pretty, and women and rappers like it. Okay, so boo gold. I don't like it. Let's get these things out of here. But nonetheless, right, we're finally starting to see gold come down, right? Last time gold went parabolic was during probably from 2018, 2019 through 2020, right? Gold peaked, right? Then it started coming down, and after a good, let's measure out the time here, from August 2020 took around until January or February, right? So it took a good 6 months or so, right? But once gold finally came down and started to stabilize, then we saw our crypto rip, right? Gold has only been going down for us, about 6 months, right? Yeah, about 6 months. So like we should be on the precipice of going up if we're going to get our crypto cycle that we want, right? Here's another confluence. Copper to gold ratio, okay? This is from Cantonese Cat. He's extremely knowledgeable about a variety of things pertaining to the market. Him and Action TA, I've actually gotten a lot of my ideas from these channels, so you should go check them out. That's Cantonese Cat and Action TA. But nonetheless, this is something that's really cool to check out. So the copper to gold ratio has been in this downtrend since 2008. And what we can see here is, if I were to overlay this graph, I have a tough time getting on TradingView, but if we were to overlay this graphic with risk assets such as Russell 2K, for instance, right, or crypto, even though crypto wasn't really super around at this point, right? There was Bitcoin, but it was in its infancy. You would see that risk assets will bottom out, risk assets will bottom as the copper and gold ratio bottoms, and they will peak as the copper and gold ratio peaks, because copper is more of like, we're going to do things and we're going to build shit and we're going to innovate and we're going to take risks and we're going to be cool. And when copper goes up / gold goes down, right, that's kind of a period where we have a bit more risk on sentiment. And last time we had a copper to gold ratio peak, you can see here it was around the end of 2021 into 2022, right? Let's take a look at what crypto is doing. End of 2021, 2022, right? December 2021, bam, peak, right? And what is copper gold doing right now? This is a few weeks old, by the way. I believe you actually got another spring off here, right? Copper to gold ratio has bottomed, right? And it looks to be going up. So how many confluences do we have? Liquidity, taken, check, right? We have BTC at multiple supports, right? And actually, if I were to go to CoinMarketCap right now, look at that. We're bouncing. We're literally bouncing as we speak. Okay. So we're sitting at multiple supports, right? We are printing more money. The PMI is going up. Gold is going down. Copper to gold ratio is bottoming and going up. People are scaredy cats, right? Look at this, right? Do we want to be doing what all the fucking sheeple are doing? Right? Is that how we make money? No, we do the opposite, right? Sometimes going with the crowd works. And as a matter of fact, I can't believe that most people have thought this is going to be a bear market and they've been right to this point, right? But we can't all like sing Kumbaya by the fire and be right together indefinitely, right? This is going to end soon. And we have several pieces of evidence that are saying this. Now, the reason why I'm into crypto is others, right? Just like I'm not a big fan of just like I'm not a big fan of gold, I'm not a big fan of Bitcoin either, right? It's too big of an asset at this point. There's not enough volatility. I don't like the what do you call it here? The narrative that it's digital gold. I don't like that at all, right? I want volatility. I'm not fucking rich. I teach gym. I don't want to invest in something like the S&P 500 and get 8% per year. That 8% of not a lot is still not a lot, right? 20x of not a lot can be a lot, right? So that's why we're here. So before I get into why we're not cooked, and the altcoin chart is providing more confidence to that. I just want to like give credence to how painful this entire period has been. Okay, so let's take a look at the past 5 years in crypto. Okay, so let's say, for instance, that you invested near the top of 2021. This is your introduction into crypto. Hopefully you didn't top blast the thing, right? But a lot of people did. So let's say you top blasted crypto in 2021 and you've been holding on through now. Okay, now this is the others chart. This represents all the coins outside the top 10 in aggregate. You can't straight up buy the others chart, although it'd be cool if there is an others ETF. They should work on that, right? But you buy individual coins that are outside of the top 10. If you've been hanging on to these coins on aggregate, you have waited around 5 years, 1,666 days. Ooh, that's kind of evil, right? In order to lose 54% of your money, right? This is every type of capitulation that you can think of combined. It's time-based capitulation. It's jealousy-based capitulation. You could have been investing in the stock market, into Pokemon cards, into gold, into OnlyFans toenail clippings, and weird shaped chicken nuggets, right? And you could have been doing a lot better than what you're doing now. When you look at this is bad enough. The situation is actually worse because when you look at most coins from the 2021 cycle, the picture looks a lot more bleak. So let's provide some examples here that are going to capture the sentiment even more than this. Check out Avalanche, okay? Peak of around 140 in 2021. Look at it now, right? In fact, earlier today, there was a point where AVAX was actually under $8, and I've never seen it under $8 in my life, right? 94% down. When people say, I lost all my money in crypto, this is what we're talking about. And not only was it 94% down, it kind of jerked us around, throughout this, and then just kept plummeting, right? Uniswap, similar thing, right? Nearly 6 years, 93% down. This one is brutal, okay? Polkadot, Jesus Christ, 98% down, right? 5 years. So when people are saying, I think crypto is dead and it's never coming back and it's useless and I hate it and it looks even worse than this chart does, right? You got to kind of understand it. But the whole thesis of the episode is that we're not cooked, right? So let's talk about that, right? So when we look traditionally, right, let's go from the cycles that we have available to us, okay? We have years of nothing. We have explosion. We have bear market. Then we have another consolidation. Years of nothing before we have another explosion, bear market, years of nothing before explosion. Now, one thing that I think is interesting about this consolidation is that it's a stronger consolidation, right? If you want to think that this was the alt season, then fine, right? Maybe you're right. Maybe I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about, right? But I think all of this is your consolidation. And as a matter of fact, if we zoom in this period between 2018 and 2021, I'm going to show you it actually looks quite similar, right? Just on a slightly shorter time scale. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom in on this whole period, okay? From the bear market to the consolidation to the run up, right? So let's zoom it in. All right, here we go. Cool. So let's get some time frames here, right? So let's start from the beginning, and we're going to start from the top of the bear market. So let's go top of the bear market, and let's go until are we even clicking on the things? All right, let's go from up here, right? Top of the bear market let's go to the time where we bottom out, right? Okay, down 90%, okay? 90%, 399 days. Ouch, that sucks, okay? During this time, crypto is a piece of shit. I hate it. I'm never coming back, right? Right, okay. Then, After that, and I know I'm kind of going a little bit backwards here, a little upward period, right? Let's go near the top of this wick, right? So over 203 days, if we're buying at this bottom period, 189% over 203 days, right? Crypto's pretty cool. It's pretty cool again, right? But if you had sold here, if you had walked away, even though you made a bunch of money, you missed a really big move, right? What if we go from this high period, right? And let's ignore this little fake out. And maybe let's go to the bottom of this candle body right here, right? During this time, again, a ton of volatility, right? 266 days, all of which are going down, right? So if you had bought in the top over here, right, and you were down 60% at this point, let me ask you, was this a good time for you to sell? Was this a good time for you to walk away? Imagine just getting dumped on for 266 days. And yes, we've done more than that now, but nonetheless, the feelings were probably similar, right? Was it a good time to sell? Absolutely not, right? Because if you capitulated, right, like most of the people who don't make money in this space, which is most of the people, you would have missed out on, hold on, I need to make this bigger, and I need to bring, oh, nope, you stop, and I need to make it go that, okay. Here we go. You would have missed out on all of this, right? All of this. It's going off the page. I can't even finish it, right? And it goes more than this, right? You would have missed out on, I think it's actually double this. It would have been around 3,000%. You would have missed out on 385 days of movement, or what would have happened is you would have finally bought it at the top, and then you would have top blasted it and then lost all your money again, right? So just because you're 50, 60, 70% down now, by the way, full transparency, I'm down 50% at the moment on my coins. Just because you're down that much doesn't mean that you should quit or that you're necessarily a shitty investor, right? Could you call me and could you call people who are 50% down right now a shitty investor? I mean, yeah, fair enough, right? We weren't investing into gold, into indices, into things that are actually pumping right now, right? But just because you're down right now doesn't mean you're quit, right? So can we zoom out? Yes, we can. All right. So let's compare this period to this period, okay? So let's go from this local bottom right here, and let's go to this peak, right? And we're going to kind of go in the middle of these wicks, right? 276% over 294 days, right? Hey, crypto's pretty cool. We like that, right? Does that mean that that's a full bull market? Nope. No, it's not, right? Let's contrast that with, let's go somewhere up here, right? And let's go to this point, right? Minus 54% over 525 days, right? This period right here is very similar to this period, except stretched out a little bit, right? Why? Why is it like that? Let's look at M2, right? We had this period where we went negative money printing, something that we haven't done ever, right? And only now are we starting to get back to the level of money printing that we used to do, until it most likely goes parabolic, okay? Let's go back to our chart, right? So same thing is down here, but a little bit elongated, right? This is pain. This is all the capitulation, the time base, the jealousy base, the price base, right? All that sucks. But if you quit now, right, you're potentially missing out on the biggest move. And it always gets worse before it gets better. Why? Because they want to clear out that liquidity, right? And it's the same thing in others, right? And if I were to bring up liquidity charts for individual altcoins, you would be seeing the same thing, right? Let's even just zoom back into here to prove this, okay? Okay, look at this. You have been waiting for, what did I say, like 290 days, something of that nature. Let's get our tool back out, right? Somewhere in here, okay? 259 days, right? And you're just starting to think you're getting some relief, right? And then bam, and then it's the worst that it's ever been. In fact, it's the worst that it's been in over... It's the worst that it's been in over a year, right? Crypto's a piece of shit, and you're ready to quit. And then I rhymed right there. That's pretty sweet, right? And then it goes up and it goes up, and you're like, yeah, this is fake. I'm not buying this. And then it goes up, and then holy shit, massive fucking explosion. All right. And you just had to be patient, right? And right now, we're just kind of in a situation where we have to be even more patient, right? It would be really convenient and really easy if this period was the same exact time as the consolidation in this period. But, you know, there's no free lunch, right? They're not just going to throw us money. That'd be way too easy. Let's see where this could go, right? Let's take a look. So let's throw a fib on the last cycle. And fibs, you know, they're not perfect or anything, but they can give us an idea, right? So last cycle, high to low, we overthrew the 4.236 on linear, all right? Let's run it here. Now, let's account for diminishing returns. Let's say, for instance, that we don't get to the, we'll go off here. Let's just say, for instance, that we don't even get to the 4.236. Let's say we only get to the 3.618, which, by the way, I think it's very possible that we actually do get to the 4.236 and actually overthrow it again. Why do I think that? There's an asset that is $30 trillion in market cap that just fucking did it, right? And that is gold, right? Just did it. Local high, local low, bam, right? Overthrew it by quite a bit. Kind of looks like in the same way that others did it back here, right? Overthrew it quite a bit. So let's see where this could possibly go. All right, 3.618, I think is pretty realistic. 1.2 trillion, 1.45, overthrow, 1.62 trillion, maybe a little bit outside the realm of possibility. What would this look like hypothetically, right? Keep in mind that we've had pretty much 6 years of consolidation, and we've got the worst part out of the way, and we're holding some nice support right here, and it looks like we have a rounded bottom, and we're turning up into the confluence of all these other things, right? M2, ISM, gold dropping, copper to gold ratio. There it is. We also have these type of headlines, right? We also have fear and greed high. We have altcoin index pushing up. That's interesting. You're not going to see altcoin index going up if the cycle's over. Weird, right? So where could this go, right? Somewhere up here. I think time-wise, right? Realistic. Maybe, let's be conservative, right? Something like this, right? And you couldn't handle this, right? But imagine missing out on, let's move it back. Oh, my bad. No. Well, you get the idea, right? Imagine missing out on, you know what? Fuck, I want to redraw that. Get out of here. I'm going to redraw it. Imagine missing out on something like this. Okay. over a year of growth, 510%, that takes you into March-ish of 2029, right? This is just a hypothetical, right? But from previous growth, right, it's fairly realistic, right? Long consolidation, worse at the end, massive explosion, right? And I think we've forgotten what that massive explosion could look like, and it kind of looks like this, right? So that's pretty much it for today. One more thing I want to mention is kind of how to look at some potentially good altcoins. And you know what? I think I'll go over that for next video, okay? So just to let you know, we are not cooked, okay? We have all these confluences. And you know what? Where's my others, okay? Let's clear this out. If we are cooked, right? And things go away. And things are going like people say, and and crypto is a piece of shit, and it's going to zero, then you know what? Maybe it'll just do fucking this. Hold on. I need to make that bigger. Hold on. We're going to have some real fun with this. Maybe it'll just go like this. And not only will it go to zero, it'll just go fucking beneath zero. And then not only will they take all of our money, but then we'll owe them money. That's how fucking bad the sentiment is, okay? So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, whatever. Anyway, that is Altcoin Connoisseur. I think your shitcoins are going to pump. Okay, give it a little bit of time. Have a great evening, morning, whenever you're listening to this. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.